So this is where we left off, I think, before the break. We have all the blocks in place. We have walls. We have object pop and catch. We have the opening and closing rooms in the game. We've added the squids. So there's, again, 4 different types of squids. And then we've also added pop start as well. And so what this does is it just puts it on the screen for about 2 seconds, then it switches to a regular pop that actually shoots off and goes the way you want it to do. So it's a little bit nicer to the user to do that. But what we want to do here is kind of control lives, okay? So lives is going to be kind of the focus for today. Now when you're doing lives, or if you're doing health or things like that, you have to figure out where you're going to start it at and how many lives you want. And you only want this to happen once. And the best place to do that, you don't want to put it in the controller, because the controller gets created for every room. So a lot of people think you put it in the create event for the controller. But that's not the case. Here, it would be better to put it probably in the button press for the start. Because when I hit start, that's going to happen right at the beginning. And that should only happen once unless they have to restart the game. And then you reset lives there. So I would actually put the initialization of the lives variable inside the start button. So let's do that. We have a left button click. We just say go to the next room. They want to start the game. Before we go to the next room, it might be good to set lives. Here's it's in the score menu, and we want to set lives to, typically in games you get 3 lives, right? And you don't want to click relative, because that will add 3 to whatever lives they have. Now with 3 lives, how many lives do you actually get? Does anybody know? Any notice this? Yeah, you have 4 lives, right? There's the live you have right now plus 3 extra ones. So when it shows you have 3 lives, you actually have 4 lives, if you think about it. Okay? But most games have 3 lives, and then there's ways to get extra lives in the game, and we're going to look at those as well. But again, I would put this initialization of the lives right here in the start button, left button click event. Now we have to determine when do we take a life away. And probably that has to happen when pop goes outside the room. So if we look at pop, we should have an outside room event, and all we're doing is destroying it and then recreating a pop start at this fixed location. Now there's a power-up we're going to be working on today where pop splits into 2 more pops or 3 pops altogether, right? And so you're going to have more than 1 pop on the screen, and say you have about 50 pops and one of them, say 20 of them fall off the screen. So you don't want to lose a life for every pop. You only want to lose a life on that last pop once the last pop goes outside the room. So we're going to have to be a little bit smarter here than what we're doing now. And just, we could just subtract a life here, but that's still, you don't want to do that unless there's only 1 pop left. So we have to ask that question. And the way you do that is you go to the control menu, and then we're going to do a count. And the question is, how many pops? We want to count up the number of pops, so let's do that there. And if there's only 1 pop left, this is the last pop, let's say, then we want to take 1 away from lives. So you go to the score menu again, and this time we're going to say, okay, we're going to set lives to -1 relative, and that's equivalent to adding -1 or subtracting 1 from lives. In either case, though, we do want to destroy the pop that we have. Yeah, relatives. You don't want to set it to -1. You want to sell it. You want to add -1 to the lives, right? And then, also, if it's the last pop, then we want to create a new pop at the beginning, but only on the last one, not every time a pop falls out of the room. So let's do that. Now there's a couple ways you can show the lives in your game. And we're going to try Well, I want to show you the first way. You don't have to do it this way to begin with, but if I go back to the start button, and again, this is just for discussion. We're not actually putting this in the game, so don't actually do this in your game. But so what I would do here is I'm going to drag out this one. It says SLH. It's a little window. And I'm putting that in the pop start click event. And it says, do you want to show the score? The default is it'll show you the score up on the top thing, but it's not going to show you lives and it's not going to show you health because not all games have lives and health. This game doesn't have health, but it does have lives. So I'm going to change this to show lives instead of hiding them or not showing them. Okay. Now when we play our game, we can take a look and see if our lives are being tracked properly. So what I want you to do is look up at the top of this window and see if it shows us the lives. I don't see it. Do you see it? This is odd. So let's see if it's keeping track of lives. We'll just let it fall out. This is odd. Why wouldn't it show it? Notice too, it didn't create a new pop when it went out, so we have a few problems to solve. So I'm puzzled. Yeah, we told it to show lives, and we set lives right there, and it's on the start button. Yeah, that should all work. The other question is, when pop went out outside the room, we destroyed instance of pop, and then we called it. Oh yeah, we want to say 0 here instead of 1. Okay. Let's see if that works better. Yeah, since we're destroying it first, and it's the last one, it'll say 0, and that's when we want to quit. But I'm still not sure why we're not seeing lives up at the top there. We should see that. Okay, so the score is there. Comes back. That looks fine. I'm going to let Pop just die. So he's died once. That's twice. That's 3 times. And then finally, the 4th time. And it's still going. I was assuming it would stop right then. Yeah. So we're keeping track of lives, it seems. We can't really see it for some odd reason. One thing we're not keeping track of or learning is just checking to see if there's no more lives yet. We probably want to do that in the controller, in the step event. Let's see what we have for that. Yeah, we have a step event here. If there's no more squids, we go on to the next room. We could add an event, other, and there's one called No More Lives. And so I would put that there. The controller will, every frame, it will look to see if there's any lives left. If there isn't, then it's going to show you the high score screen. So that's this one. And then we probably want to go back to the starting room. So the starting room is, let's see, that's this one. Different room. And here we want to go to the first room, which is our start room, where all the buttons are. Okay. Okay, so there's 1 life. Yeah, that's right. We're losing a life there. We have 1 life left. Plunk. It shows us the high score screen. We hit escape. Takes us back here. If I hit the start button again, it resets lives to 3 again. Okay. See that? So in this game, instead of showing lives as a number on top of the screen, what we want to do in this game is we want to show the number of lives. You know how sometimes in a game you put little hearts to show how many lives there are? We're going to do that in this game. Now they suggest using this really small catch sprite. You can't really see that one. But you also don't want it to be confused with the actual pop. I want to use a picture of pop instead of catch because that's typically how you see it. You see the main player icon somewhere. So we're going to use that as our life sprite. So let's make that sprite. There's one, we'll say create sprite. And we're going to load up. There's one that's an icon, which is a little bit different, like this one. It doesn't spin around in circles. It's just this picture. And we're going to make this our life sprite. So the changes we need to make is in our start button. Again, since we're not going to be showing the lives on the upper bar, we're going to just delete that. Okay. We still need to set lives to 3, but when it comes time to show how many lives there are, we have to draw that somehow. Now what's really weird about this setup is the best place to do that is in the controller. And the controller is not visible. So how do you draw something that's not visible? Which seems kind of strange. There's a rule in GameMaker that you can only draw in a draw event. You can't draw at any other time but just the draw event. The draw event gets triggered every time it has to draw, quote, the controller. Now, the controller doesn't have a sprite, but it is checked as being visible. So because it's visible, it's actually going to call a draw event on the controller. We can use that to our advantage to draw the life pictures. So we're going to put those actually here. Well, actually, we're going to create a draw event. The draw event is here. So when it's time to draw the controller, we actually want to draw the life pictures, and that's that one. Draw life images. And it asks us where we want to draw it. In the game, in the book, it says to put it along the bottom, and I want to stay away from the bottom. I'd rather have it up at the top. And this is an absolute position. Remember, the walls are 20 pixels wide. So maybe we start the first one at 20, and then for the Y, we'll just say 0. Okay. Which sprite do we use? We're going to use the sprite we just created. And it's not relative. This is a fixed position. This is where the first life picture will be added, and then the rest will follow after that. So let's see what that looks like. Okay, so if you look at the top, there's 3 little pops there. It's still there. I think they're too big, right? It kind of looks like regular pop. You see the pictures up here on the left. Clunk. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm thinking maybe we make it a little bit smaller. So let me do that now. So I just go to my sprite. And this time I'm going to edit the sprite, and I just want to make it smaller. So transform, I'm going to scale it down. Half the size is a little bit too much. Double the size is too much too. So let's maybe something like that. I just want to make it a different size so it's not confused with an actual pop that's in the game. I made it kind of small. Okay, so we'll save that. We'll try this again. Okay, so you can see the lives up there. It looks okay. Not really that visible. So you can maybe come up with a different plan on where to put them. I don't want to put them down below. But you can play around with that however you want. So now we've taken care of lives. Run out of lives, it takes you back to the first room after showing you the high score screen. Trying to think what else we have to do. We have to do certain special blocks. And these blocks are actually There's sprites for them, so you don't have to create them. There's a block that if you hit it, it gives you an extra life. There's a block that if you hit it, it creates 2 more pops. There's a block that if you hit it, it actually takes 2 hits to make it go away. There's also a block that's solid. It's like a wall. You hit it and it doesn't go away, but you bounce off of it. So these are the 4 blocks we're going to work on today. First, we have to make the sprites. Again, we're working on blocks. I'm assuming that you have all the other blocks set up. It's important that when you set up the other blocks, that block 1 is solid. They're all solid, really. Block 2, make sure it has the parent of block 1. All these different colored ones are all the same, but they have to have the same parent. If they're not all set to block 1, then you're going to have some strange behavior in your program. So make sure, not including block 1, but all the ones below that have specified block 1 as being the parent. Okay, so here's the sprites we need to add then. Let's do the life block first. And we're going to go find that. Here it is. Okay. Do we have to remove the background? No. That's fine. The other ones, let's see, sprite. I call it split because we're splitting pop into 2 other pops. Pop split. Okay. And then we'll do the solid one. And that's just like a wall, really. This one's called double. So now let's create those block objects down here. We have the sprites available. We'll start with lives since that's the one we've been talking about today already. I guess we'll call it life because you only get 1 life. The sprite we want to use is this one. We're going to make it solid. I think that's good. I think to be consistent, inside the pop object, we have all the collision events here. It might be good to do all the collision events. Pop is going to be in control of all of those collisions. Realize that with collisions, you can choose which side to do it on. You know, pop collides with the block or the block collides with pop. You can put the code in on either side. Since we've been putting all of that on the pop side, we might as well just continue on doing that. So we're going to add a collision event specifically for the life block. And if you look at the regular block, what we do is we bounce off, we set the score, and then we destroy the instance. So we might do something similar. We still want to bounce off against it, that's fine. Do we want to set the score? Not really. We do want to change the life though. So I'm going to delete this and then go to the score tab. And then I'm going to set life. And all we're going to do is add 1 to life, or lives. So you say relative, whatever the number of lives they have right now, say relative is going to add one to that. And then we want to destroy the instance of the block. So the only thing different is the scoring part there. The next block we want to create is the split block. There's the split sprite. Again, we want to make this solid. Anything else? No. Again, we put all the logic here on the pop side. So we're going to add a collision event with the new block. And what this is going to do is it's just going to create two other pops. So the original pop will still be doing whatever it's doing, but the other ones will be created. So we're going to drag this on create, and we say object pop. We're just creating another one. We want to make it relative to where the current pop is located. So we want to say relative. Just leave it at 0, 0. Now remember, in the create event for pop, he'll go shooting out in a certain randomly chosen angle, kind of pointing up. So we'll let it do that. And we have to do that twice because we're trying to add, altogether we want 3 pops on the screen. Okay. So you do that 2 times. The create event for object pop will be going, and then we're off. You can do things like this, which is kind of funny. Twice, yeah. So when pop hits the block, we want the block to disappear, plus we want to create 2 more pops. Okay, yeah, that's a good catch. So we copy that, we paste it here, and then we create 2 more. We probably want to delete it. Well, yeah, I think we want to delete it before we create the 2 new ones. So we'll delete it here. Oops. Make sure to say other. Okay. So bounce off the tile, get rid of the block, and then create 2 new pops. So here in this room, we can try that out. Say, and this is kind of silly, but you would say, okay, I'm going to add okay. What do you think the effect of this will be? Anybody have a clue? Yeah, it's going to be kind of a mess. Let's see what happens. This is a good, like, congratulation room thing or something. You have all these pops on the screen. So that was kind of a neat effect, right? You get all these pops flying all over the place. One pop hits another block that creates 2 more, that creates 2 more. It's kind of exponential in that regard. On those kind of levels, you probably want to protect your squids a little bit more with solid walls. So let's do that. We're going to create the solid wall block, or the solid block. Okay, so we'll call this object block solid. They're all solid, or most of them are, right? So here's the solid sprite. We'll make it solid, that makes sense. And what should happen when it hits the solid block? So here's pop. So we add that collision event. Now the only thing different here I said solid, that one. The other thing different here is we're not going to delete the block. We're still going to bounce off of it, right? So we're still bouncing off solid objects. But we're not going to get rid of it. Should they get a score for destroying it? Well, they're not going to destroy it, so no, they shouldn't really get a score. So the only thing this does is it just bounces off of it and doesn't go away. So these blocks are permanent. The last block we want to implement is the double hit block, where you have to hit it twice for it to go away. But you also want to visually show that, hey, you've hit this block once. All you have to do is hit it one more time and it'll go away. Yeah. Well, this is the approach I'm taking. So you collide with the, well, I don't have the object yet, so let me make the object. And we'll call this the double block. And the sprite we're going to use is this kind of purpley looking one down here. And just like the other ones, it is solid. And the simple thing to make this happen is basically when there's a collision event between pop and the double block. So let's add that now. We just want to change the double block into block 1. Now we don't want to change pop into block 1. We want to change the other thing we collided with into block 1. That way they can see, hey, it changed from a double hit to a single hit block, and then they hit the block 1 and then they're done, right? It asks if we want to perform events. Blocks don't have create events, so you can leave that set to not. Okay. Okay, so down in our room then, say I want to kind of model this behavior and kind of test it out. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put some solid blocks around some of the squids so they last a little bit longer. And who says you can't put walls in the middle of the room? So I'm going to do that. Maybe starting here. So that little window is going to be pretty tight. And then I'm going to put a rank of double hit blocks here. So you have to work your way through this layer before you get to the star layer. Notice I'm careful not to overlap my blocks. That's always really cheesy if you overlap them. I know our grid size is 20 by 20, but remember the blocks are 20 by 40. So in order for me to get to the explosion or the split blocks, I have to work my way through this one. It's going to take a little longer because you have to hit those things twice. So so here's my game. So does the double one work? Wow, I got in there. That still was pretty fast, wasn't it? Let me try one more time. You can't really see it on your screens. If you look up here on my projector, you'll see it a little bit better. What we're trying to make sure is that the double hit blocks, you do actually have to hit them twice. So let's try that. You see I have to hit them twice to get them to go. Work my way through. See, it's taken a while for... Now look at all these pops leaving the room. Okay? If we just had, subtracted one from life anytime a pop left the room, we'd have negative 900 lives almost right away. So that's why we put that count in there saying, hey, is this the last one? If it is the last one, then that's when we take one away from lives. You notice our solid block didn't, just things bounce off of it. They don't go away. There's no score. So it looks like we've got all the different block types taken care of. We got a double block. Oh, did I show you the life block yet? I guess I haven't. Okay, so let's make sure that happens. So I'm going to put a bunch of life blocks in now. I'm going to erase one of these. These are a little too many. Oops. And I'm going to put instead maybe some life blocks here. There's a life block there. So maybe we surround this with life blocks. Okay? So if you hit any of those blocks, it's going to add one to life. And we can watch that as we add one. We'll see the additional life pictures to be up here on the top. Okay, so how many lives do I have? 3. Now I have 4. See how they're getting added to the top there? So those are all the different power blocks and kind of special blocks that we need to do in the game.